we have spawning down here in the bottom left position. Wait a second, that is not the right amount of SCVs for that time in the game. He must be proxying. Give it up for BYUN. And on the top right side of the map, the bit of a victim here of that proxy. Let's see if he can turn it around on him. In the top 4 Alpha X, he is RAGNAROK. So we are on Oxide for map number 1. And I guess BYUN's gonna try and make this one go a little bit quicker here. This is his last series of the night. If he can go up 2-0, he goes out first in the group. And that kind of gives you a little bit of a better seeding for the matches on Thursday. Remember, there's about $500 prize pool in this event, so you definitely want to take the lion's share of that. Now RAGNAROK does get the scout on a little bit late. The spawning pool is already on the way, but he's gonna have to pull the drones to defend, not allow the bunkers to go up. Pretty decent position here for that bunker. It is going to get canceled, however, as the first Marine coming on in. The drone, all the drones are pulled. RAGNAROK not really mining anymore, so he's gonna have to defend. Does get the second cancel on the bunker, so that will give time for the Lynx to finish up. But BYUN is still building up that Marine count. As long as he doesn't get surrounded, he should be okay. Some good fire here. Gonna get rid of a lot of the Lynx, but unfortunately, he does get surrounded. That Marine count gets decimated. Bunker gets finished, funnily enough, but that is just going to get immediately salvaged. As BYUN already going to be transitioning away from this. He's got his factory down. The wall almost complete, so, you know, he's not looking to really get too much more damage done. Maybe just kind of stay out here, be a little bit more of a nuisance, and just tell RAGNAROK, hey, I'm still here. You can't get that third base. You are stuck on 21 workers for a little bit, because if you overdrone, you don't really have a ton of lings. I can still come in here and do a bit of damage. Queens are pretty good, but they have expended their energy already, so there will be no transfuses available. A little bit of a supply about lock there. That's going to force an extra 100 minerals out of RAGNAROK. Never really that good. You do want to kind of keep your build orders crisp. I will get the map order after this game, Artodoc. Sorry about that. I was trying to do some admin stuff behind the scenes. Now we got these Hellions coming on in. They are doing a really good job, actually, of denying that creep for just a little bit longer here. RAGNAROK doesn't really have a ton of energy on these queens. So that does mean that he's not going to be able to build up a lot of transfuse energy if he wants to keep that creep rolling. And now we do have the Hellions there. Not going to be able to get in here. The Lings are slow, however. RAGNAROK having to kind of delay that for a little bit as he's going up to lair on 2 bases. That is not really a position that I think he wanted to go for. But it's probably something that he's just going to say, you know what? I think I'm going to do something a little bit cheeky. I'm on 2 bases. I'm on 4 gases. He might be going for Spire. These Hellions, though, are going to be a pretty big nuisance for him. Always just kind of pushing the front, keeping him off that optimal creep spread that he would surely like in this game. BYUN as well, getting that stim pack. His +1 has just now started. I think we're going to see BYUN just kind of power up here for a little bit, drop down that 3rd base, and once he drops that, that's going to be kind of his signal to move in and attack. It's a pretty big timing that he can hit because of the fact that Ragnarok's not really going to have a ton of Banes available to him. He's not going to have a ton of Mutalisks either. He's just trying to save up that gas for as long as possible. But remember, those Mutas are very gas expensive. So this timing from BYUN is going to be very, very crisp. Look at that positioning as well on that tank. You are not going to get on top of that. Ugh. Man. First big stim forward as well. The Spine Crawler will go down. One of the Medivacs getting a little bit too close there, but the Transfuse is going to save all of those Queens. So far, so good. He's kind of just trying to buy himself a little bit of time before Centrifugal Hooks comes in. As we see the wraparound coming on down, just waiting for the perfect moment to engage. BYUN can't really go too far away from these siege tanks, but here we go. The trap is sprung. The Marines do not get into the medevac, and Ragnarok gets a pretty good cleanup here. The Hellions being forced to escape. Oh, it looks like he does save the siege tank as well. Oh, my goodness, he's got to be feeling pretty good about that. Since he does save that, Ragnarok's not going to be able to get any sort of counter damage in. In terms of upgrades, though, BYUN is foregoing that +1 armor. Instead, just sticking with this very large amount of aggression, only just now starting that. So any upgrade lead he had is donezo. Oh, but hold that thought as we do have the Banelings inching their way forward. Not getting the best of connections. There are still so many Marines available. So the Mutas have to disengage. They have to fight with the Lings, but there's just really not a lot of firepower available. BYUN is dancing his way in here. And I think if he doesn't close it out, he's at least going to get a ton of damage in. Oh my god, those siege tanks about to be MVPs. As only a couple of Banelings going to trickle their way forward. Those go down. The Mutas do fall. GG is called. Down here in the bottom right position of Lightshade. Going for a bit of an awkward wall off here. That might come back to bite him in the tuchus. Spawning in for the Shopify Rebellion, he is BYUN. And his opponent up here in the top left. Give it up for Ragnarok. Who's not going to go for anything too crazy. He is just going to be dropping down that hatchery, so no spawning pool first. I don't think he's really going to be able to take super far advantage of the fact that BYUN is going for a CC first. So BYUN just going absolutely crazy here with his building placement. I guess kind of going for a bit of a wall off closer to home, but he does sacrifice a large portion of his main base in order to do so. I don't really know what he's thinking, honestly. He will have a pretty good follow-up to this, though. Going for that 2-1-1, or 3 racks, rather. And so he will be able to pump out plenty of units to kind of defend himself, while Ragnarok, none the wiser that this is even going on. He sees absolutely nothing with his units. So I think this is kind of one of those situations where obviously the drone scout isn't really done, like, at all. But, you know, this is kind of one of those games where you wish it was a thing. As we do see now, he's going to send that one Ling out. He's got the Overlords trying to get into where they are needed. And BYUN's just going to be pumping out these Marines for as long as humanly possible. He should drop down his factory pretty soon as well. Just start to kind of tech up. Yeah, even going to get the tech lab. I like that. I prefer that. So Ragnarok did make his way in there. He didn't really see anything other than the fact that BYUN is pumping Marines. I'm curious. Did he see the yeah, he did see that there was no wall in the main base, so he might be scratching his head about that, but just the fact that he saw the Marines tells him that, okay, it might be a 2-1-1. It might be just something where he pumps out a ton of Marines and he's going to be moving out soon. I'm going to get a couple of additional Queens. I'm going to start Link production soon. Just get a couple more drones out. And most importantly, I'm going to get my upgrades. Specifically, Carapace. Because you really do need that to have those efficient fights with large numbers of Marines. He's also going to try and kind of take advantage of the fact that there's no Hellions or really any presence for BYUN out on the map, and just try and spread that creep as far as humanly possible. Baneling Nest as well, just to make sure that he is perfectly 100% safe. As we see BYUN going to get his first move out. Keep in mind that there are no medevacs with this. He's only just now starting those, so any stim that he does is going to be that much more harmful to these units. No combat shields either, so the fact that there's banelings is a big cause for alarm. And the fact that he has to go so far onto creep in order to make this work. Yeah, this has the potential to be a little bit dicey of a push here, because once this goes down, he doesn't really have a ton back at home. Look at that. Even dropping that supply depot there, that's kind of a sign that he's fallen behind in terms of that supply cap. But here we go, some good focus fire. He sacrifices a lot of the Marines, and that is the problem with not having combat shields. He delayed for such a long time that it just gave Ragnarok the perfect ability to defend. Now Ragnarok is going to be able to clean this up, and BYUN has to go home with his tail between his legs. Ragnarok a little bit supply block, though. That is not super bad for him. Because once again, you know, BYUN, he's going to try and make something work. But at the end of the day, he's just trying to get as much value out of this as he possibly can. Dropping it where he thinks the Lings aren't. Tries to make sure that Ragnarok can't counterattack. And kind of take advantage of the fact that there's not a ton back at home. But from here, Ragnarok can just kind of build up, drone up, get the Hydralisk Den out, maybe go up to Hive pretty soon, if he so chooses, into Lurkers. And, I mean, he feels perfectly safe. There's nothing that BYUN can really do to harm him. Gonna just trade out with the Lings a little bit there. But, you know, nothing really too much else to say. We're kind of in this little period where there's going to be a lull in the action as BYUN just tries to build up. He tries to kind of consolidate a little bit more. Maybe looking to do a bit of a 1-2 punch right now. As he inches his way forward. But the units on the bottom aren't moving. The Bane is going to be able to roll on in and force the lift up. And so Ragnarok is feeling perfectly safe. He is not behind in terms of those upgrades. BYUN once again delaying his +2. Just kind of like what we saw, not only in the last game, but also in his games, his series versus Creator. So no, yeah, Ragnarok is just kind of deflecting everything. We do see that infestation pit coming on down, so once again, that's just to make sure he's not going to fall behind in terms of anything. Usually in TVZ, you do have a lot of games where the Terran player will just go up to +3 before you even have that Hive out. And it just becomes a little bit difficult to take those engagements efficiently. But yeah, he's ahead. He's +2, so far ahead of BYUN's. And that creep spread is getting absolutely insane. If BYUN wants to get on top of these bases, he's going to get spotted like 3 planets away before he can. A little bit of a scan, looking to clear that up. But now you have to be a little bit more careful because the Hydralisks are in play. So any lift up near the creep can be your last one. And back at home, he's kind of just turtled up a little bit more. Trying to get the ghosts up, trying to get those additional CCs so that he doesn't have to rely on the SCVs that much. Taking a look at the units lost tab. Yeah, it looks like he's trading semi-efficiently, but that's kind of what you expect with Lings, so not really that much of a story there. He is going into Ghost, so we might be seeing a little bit of a Turtle Terran coming on, and Ragnarok might want to look into breaking this soon before it gets to be a bit much for him to deal with. Here we go, Ragnarok gonna try and break his way forward. The siege tanks are starting to go down. The Banelings trying to get right on top of the Marine wall. A couple of okay connections, but not really finding what he would like. 34 SCVs going down, however. That is enough to ruin anyone's day. Oh my goodness. Let's kind of take a look at the battle report there. While BYUN does kind of give as much as he takes. That friendly fire damage, getting rid of 3 of his own SCVs. And I mean, Ragnarok, he's just going to have to trade. He's just going to have to out-macro BYUN at this point. Break through the wall as quickly as possible. Ultralisks, I like that choice. We do have that cavern coming on in. Those can be pretty tanky. You do have to be careful because that ghost count is heavily rising as we see BYUN trying to establish his 4th base. He tried to take the bottom left position at the 6 o'clock. Not going to be able to do that. This Lings, oh, that was not very good. They do get a couple of siege tanks, which is nice, but he doesn't have a follow-up to break the position. Only a couple of Hydras, which, by the way, are still very, very squishy. But now it looks like Ragnarok is just going to go for a little bit of a 1-2 punch here. Keeps these guys down here to poke at the supply depots. Using the siege tanks against the SCV line. Here we go. Blinding clouds coming on into ghosts. Getting a little bit too close to the fire. EMP. I don't know what he EMP'd there, but I think he did just try an EMP. But 15 more workers going down. A kill on that base. This is kind of what Ragnarok has to do. Starve BYUN out. And so far, he's doing a pretty good job of it. Another big story, though, is the fact that neither side really has a like a huge bank build up. We do see Ragnarok is up almost 1,000 minerals a minute, though, which is allowing him to pump out just 90 lings at a time. But again, if BYUN can take a couple of efficient trades, you know, those lings, they're not really super cost efficient, so you're going to be consistently breaking down that bank, meaning that you take a couple of bad fights and boom, BYUN's back in it, and there's not really that much you can do to say no to it. Oh, wasting a lot of the Banes as well on those siege tanks. Looks like we do get a parasitic bomb there, but a lot of the bio still untouched. The Ultralisk going to go down, and that's kind of what I'm talking about here. You know, taking a look at the Remax, more Hydras, more Lings. Trying to go for a little bit of a transition into the Spire tech, maybe going for Broodlords or just plain Mutalisks. I think a couple maxes like that, and Ragnarok will be a little bit broke. Looks like he's going to burrow a couple of Lings here, just trying to deny mining on this base for as long as possible. Siege tank getting a little bit of friendly fire damage in there, but 5 more workers going down. BYUN's still hovering around 52. But, you know, he does have 7 orbitals. And, yeah, that's a ton of mules. So, he doesn't need as many workers. But still, here we go. Once again, Ragnarok almost completely maxed out. Insta nuke in that base. That will go down. And now the parasitic bomb on the medevac actually cleaning up a lot of that. The Banelings not getting the best of trades there, but it doesn't matter. Now, see, I like this. Just overall. Because taking a look at 2,000 atmosphere, we do have these rock positionings close to the third bases, the potential third bases that a Zerg player could take. And wherever there's rocks, there's a good chance that you're going to see siege tanks kind of going wherever the heck they want to go. And those positions can be very difficult to kind of dislodge for the Zerg player. So Ragnarok kind of just taking advantage of the fact that this is a little bit of a larger map. Just trying to make sure that he can kind of keep BYUN on the back foot just a little bit with this. This did get spotted, however, so a little bit of a shame there. Ragnarok didn't kind of go for that ulterior pathing. So the Reaper will be at home to defend. But yeah, you know, Ragnarok's not really investing too much into this. Couple of additional drones going to be coming down. The queens obviously are going to start spreading that creep as far as possible. No roach cheese to kind of keep it going. So even though it's a bit of an unorthodox way, it is just going to lead into a kind of a standard mid game here. Hey, look at that, a Zelnaga Watchtower. It's been a while since we've seen those. So it's kind of funny, because BYUN is doing a bit of a safer opening here. He's getting the Cyclone, like he's expecting the kind of natural follow-up to the spawning pool first. He's expecting roaches, so the Cyclone is a pretty good way to kind of counteract that. You get the snipes on the Overlord. You get that little bit of extra free damage on the roaches, forcing them to pull back. But Ragnarok, he's not doing that. He doesn't care about that kind of thing. Instead, he's just using the opportunity to drone very, very heavily. Going up to 7 additional workers, bringing them up around 45, 46. But now he has to start getting ready to defend, as the armory is finished. Stim pack has been started. The third base might be going down, but off the back of that, BYUN is going to be going for a bit of a Hellbat push. Now, in terms of Banelings, there are none on the field. I think they won't be out in time, which is okay. Fine. He's just going to have to hold on a little bit. He has a ton of lings. Taking a look at that. 21 on the field so far, with more on the way. But, ooh, okay. I like this. BYUN is just going to be going for the little bit of a double prong here. We got the Queens defending one angle. The Hellions coming in, however, gets a huge lineup on the drone line. A quick pickup. Going to save a couple of them. So those will live to barbecue another day. On the other side of things, it looks like BYUN did decide to go home, however. Not going to press his luck with any additional stuff. He got exactly what he needed. And even just taking a look at that worker count here. 54 to 52. That is nowhere near where you want to be at this stage in the game as the Zerg player. Even in terms of those upgrades, the Evo chambers, just a little bit delayed because he did have to pump out those links for the defense. So BYUN's kind of sitting very pretty in this one. Just already getting these small little leads here against his opponent. Look at that. The 6-minute lair not done timing either, while your opponent has stim. Like, I don't want to say Ragnarok's dead, because we have seen some amazing holds out of this guy. But it's just a little bit harder for the further and further we go into this one. He canceled the armory. Oh my goodness. BYUN, you absolute madman, playing mind games there. And that's kind of why I have no idea what to expect when BYUN plays like half the time. It's kind of why I'm drawing a blank a little bit here. But, I mean, he definitely sold the story. now kind of just rotating around this third base, looking for the angle to come in. He's got plenty of Widow Mines to deal with that Ling count. The Spire is coming in, but that's not going to be done for a while, and you don't really have a lot of gas to utilize here because those Banelings are desperately needed. One Queen going down. The Spine Crawler going to survive for right now. A hot pickup coming in. Oh my god. A beautiful connection right there as well. Going to take down so many of those Banes. How many just fell? Looks like the answer is none. I guess it didn't kill any of them. That's interesting because I could have sworn I saw some die. But BYUN just kind of doing the 1-2 punch, forcing RAGNAROK to defend in multiple locations, keep his army completely segmented here, finding a nice location where he can just drop on the top of the ramp, denying the mining on that fourth base. So RAGNAROK not able to use that 72 worker count effectively. I gotta say, I'm loving this right now. And like I kind of say with BYUN, he's got that 3-base economy. He's got like this really nice setup here with the amount of racks, with the supporting units. He's got that additional factory as well, so he can pump out the Thors to deal with the Mutas. This is just his ideal setup. All the momentum he's looking to keep in his favor. A little bit risky right there, however. 4 Marines versus a ton of Mutas. And as we kind of see, RAGNAROK a little bit out of position for these Widow Mines coming in. 8 workers going down. The redirects there, trying to keep it alive for as long as possible, but he's left his third base open. The army is just now coming back in to defend, but already 16 workers going down. A decent Baneling connection. Gonna clean that up, but at the end of the day, 16 workers for not really that big of a commitment. Oh my goodness. Things are just going from bad to worse for RAGNAROK. He recognizes the fact that he needs to get something, just anything in. So sending the Mutas on pretty much a death throw. 2 of them will go down. Just absolutely insane here. And I know I'm kind of sounding critical of RAGNAROK. But, I mean, there's just nothing really standing out that says I can come back in this. Lingbane Muta in itself means that he's going to be behind in terms of those upgrades for a very long time, because this is a very gas intensive build. You're consistently having to remake the Banelings. He's consistently losing some of these Mutas, forcing him to remake them, meaning that he just doesn't have the gas to go up to Hive to get those +3 upgrades. And so he's stuck with this kind of mid-tier army, which BYUN will start to kind of just pick apart. As you can kind of see, even there, wasting a lot of the Banes on the Marauders, not getting the connections that he needs in the front side either. This base under serious threat. Goes for the wraparound, but the Thors will be fighting the Mutas straight up. More Mutas will go down. Absolute carnage everywhere. The third base might just go down here. And I think, yeah, that's going to go down. Focus fires it and gets the heck out of Dodge. So now RAGNAROK, feeling this sting, is going to be going for a pretty big attack here, but that is a planetary fortress. The 5th base is going to be going down pretty soon as well. If you're RAGNAROK, you got to be shaking your head, wondering where things went wrong. Maybe thinking, okay, I let BYUN get a little bit too powerful here. Looks like some good focus fire on the full Menavax. We'll clean up all of that, so that is a pretty good connection, actually. Gonna drop BYUN down to 169 supply, but those mutas gonna have to regenerate some health here. Looks like BYUN a little bit out of position, gonna decide to come back home and defend this. I don't disagree with that, but you know, with the position he's in, he can kind of afford to kind of trade out some of these SCVs. He doesn't need to defend them as much. And take a look at the units lost tab as well. Relatively evening out, but with the mutas dead, that was kind of the point where RAGNAROK just saying GG. And it's kind of just a matter of dotting the I's, crossing the T's. Yeah, because he's trying to remake them. Oh my goodness. Run by getting completely deflected as well. BYUN ahead in terms of that supply. He's pulling his entire army, almost F2ing at this point. And he's going to look for the killing blow here. As RAGNAROK going to look for a little bit of a counterattack. He wants to get something done. He's going to catch some of the army away from its peers. Not going to engage into it, however. He doesn't know the extent of where he's attacking into. Maxed out BYUN just going to come in here. He's going to get another connection. The army of RAGNAROK comes on in. A big Widowmine shot, though. Going to shut down a lot of these Banes. Going to get a couple of more good connections on those mines. And, I mean, BYUN is going to come home, but for how long is he going to stay there? The Thors getting some nice splash in versus the mutas. And there you have it. GG is called. So once again, BYUN just being a very greedy boy. Banking on the fact that he doesn't think RAGNAROK's going to go for that kind of scout early on. Going for that CC. Behind this, we will see probably a 3 racks. But by the time RAGNAROK sees this, it might be a little bit too late. Look at that. Even going to be adding on that additional gas in those refineries, just making sure that he can transition to the factory as soon as physically possible. This might just be a 2-on-1 here, as we do have that second racks coming down. I don't see a third on the way. And yeah, just going to kind of power up here. RAGNAROK's got to know that that is a little bit early for that positioning here, so might want to put on just a little bit of pressure, kind of punish the fact. But can he is the big question. You know, BYUN might have gotten away with it. Yeah, the wall is complete, so the Ling is not really going to find too much here. They get that, like, lone SCV, but even then, the Marines are going to pop out at the perfect time to help defend that. So, you know what? BYUN is going back to the classic, the 2-1-1, which he made himself famous for. RAGNAROK going to try anything he can to stop this. And, you know, he might be able to do it. The Baneling bust is a super powerful strategy. The question is, does BYUN really need to defend the low ground here? I think the answer kind of is not really. Throwing down the additional supply depot wall might be nice to kind of soak up some of those Banelings. but he does have a lot of Marines on the production tab. He does have the ability to kind of fight this. As long as he can get rid of the Banelings and fight in the choke points, he might be able to do it. But here we go. The Banelings gonna come down. He does sacrifice, unfortunately, all of those Marines, though, for the snipes on the Banes. So now 14 workers going down. Those SCVs taking the brunt of the damage. And I think Ragnarok pretty much has just found the perfect little bit of damage. And by little bit, I mean all of it. GG is called. The last SCV, nowhere to be seen. I do agree. BYUN is going to... Like, I think the big story of this map is that there are a lot of choke points that you have to fight through. So Ragnarok is going to have to be very careful about where he decides to engage into. We do have the rocks in the center of the map, kind of watching out for the deceleration zones. So if you do open those up as the Terran player, or rather you keep those closed for as long as possible, you just have these really fantastic positionings where you can push super heavily and just really try and kill your opponent early on. Now, from what I see here, we got a couple of Hellions, we got a couple of Marines. This is looking like a Hellbat push. Just off the bat, that is my first impression of what's going on. Now, Ragnarok might feel the same way. He's getting the safety Roach Warren. Yeah, actually, okay. So only going to stick with the 2 Hellions for now. He's going to switch over, so the Hellion production will restart here in just a sec. There is no armory, so he will be keeping them as Hellions for a time. Which does mean that he is going to be able to hit just a little bit quicker. Maybe before the critical mass of roaches comes on down. Even going to supply block Ragnarok once again. Just going to make the defense a little bit harder for him here. And, yeah, just overall trying to make it as difficult as possible for Ragnarok. He's going to have to keep these Lings in the main base against this threat. But there you go. The armory is down just a little bit late. The Banshee production has started. The Roaches have made their way across without that much to stop them. But now the Banshee pops and they're completely trapped. Oh no. The Hellion's gonna absolutely wail on the Zerglings in the front. And although it's not going to be the perfect hold, he will lose a couple of SCVs. This is nowhere near enough damage for Ragnarok at all. He needs to get a lot more done to make this worth it. You can kind of see as well, kind of taking a look at that, 21 Lings, 8 Roaches for 9 SCVs. A couple of Hellions and 2 Marines. That was clearly in BYUN's favor because now the counter push is going to be so powerful. There's no more Roaches back at home. It's just going to be a pure Ling defense. No Banes. No nothing. He's going to have to go for the counter attack. And look at that. The wall's done. Ragnarok, you magnificent man. You went for it all. You went for broke, but unfortunately, your numbers did not hit. Banshee gonna be going for a little bit of an attack on those queens before pulling them away. Just going for some extra damage on that drone line. And as he tries his hardest to break through that wall, the drones are pulled. The Hellion's playing a little bit of Ring Around the Rosie, but that is a lot of lost mining time for Ragnarok. Meaning BYUN just goes further and further and further ahead in terms of that economy. He's powering up even more. He's going to get those NG base started, so his upgrades are going to be pretty good. And I mean, Ragnarok can't necessarily afford to drone up super heavily here, so he's stuck on a low drone count. For a long time, because he can't risk it versus the counterattack potential here. So Ragnarok just doing his best to kind of break up some of these locations as the Banshee's going to come in for a little bit of extra damage. They will get a couple of drones just off the bat. These Spore Crawlers not in the position where they can defend everything here. Blackburn does have a lot of open space for these guys to get on out. Now, while there is a bit of a lull in the action, it is going to be a brief one. As BYUN just getting ready to push out, take his third base. And might go for a push behind it to kind of solidify that position. Remember as well, roaches don't really scale that well, and these roaches don't have any upgrades just yet. The +1 for BYUN's just going to be a little bit quicker, so Ragnarok's going to have to really go for that kind of aggressive push-up and get the hive down as quickly as humanly possible in order to kind of survive. Now, the game's not over. By any stretch of the imagination, Ragnarok is still a little bit behind, but he has stabilized. But now BYUN really can just kind of push around. A lot of these Lings being forced to stay at home in case of those drop plays. A bunch of those roaches are not going to be able to get the best of engagements. And Ragnarok's putting so much into them that they're going to be obsolete before the next models even come out. I do think BYUN is giving him a little bit too much time, though. You know, just overall, he is not really dropping anymore. He's just kind of consolidating his forces, getting those upgrades. Finding a nice angle behind the gold, though. I'm going to delay that mining as the scan goes down. Reveals that the hive is not complete yet. Oh no, someone's circumventing fans. That is actually a funny message. But, yeah, now BYUN going to be moving on in. He's trying to find the army. He's trying to force the engagement. Ragnarok trying to get a good concave on a maxed out roach army. But BYUN just trying to bait him off of the creep into this very, very deadly siege tank line. And here we go. Ragnarok going for it. Gets a decent concave, trying to mitigate as much damage as possible, but he is taking some huge, huge damage. Looking to clean up the orbital. He's focused a lot of attention on that. Only 9 workers going down, though, and he has taken so much damage. I think BYUN has absolutely crushed through, and he will be going out first in the group.